Hey there, pirates. Welcome aboard the Anime No Mi channel. XEBEC's terrifying two devil fruits. That's right. The most feared pirate in history. The guy who brought together monsters like Whitebeard, Big Mom, and Kaido under one flag wasn't just a brute with haki. He was hunting for powers that could swallow the entire world. And to prove this theory, I'll stick only to the manga citing chapters so you can pause the video, grab your volume, and check for yourself. We're splitting this into 3 epic parts, each peeling back layers of this madness, and I guarantee by the end, you'll be convinced that Rox was the ultimate villain Oda saved to blow everything up. Ready? Ha ha ha, let's dive into the darkness. First, let's set the stage. Who exactly is this monster called XEBEC? He first shows up in chapter 957 during the Wano arc, when Sengoku drops the bomb about the pre-Roger pirate era. Rox was the captain of the Rox Pirates, a crew that made today's Yonko look like playground rookies. His dream? To become the king of the world, ruling everything. To do that, he attacked God Valley in chapter 1096, in a wild flashback showing Garp and Roger teaming up to take him down. But why was he so terrifying? Because guys, Rox wasn't just strong, he understood the power of devil fruits better than anyone. In chapter 1154, just released, Oda reveals more about Rox's dream: to destroy the Holy Land, the heart of the world government. And for that, he needed 2 legendary fruits capable of nullifying and absorbing others' powers. The first one I'm betting on, the Yami Yami no Mi, the darkness, fruit that Blackbeard uses today. Why? Let's look at the facts. In chapter 441, during Thriller Bark, Blackbeard explains the Yami Yami's ability. It cancels out any other devil fruit on contact, sucking its user into endless darkness. Imagine that in Rock's hands. He had a crew full of insanely powerful fruit users. Whitebeard with the Gura no Mi, Church 5 and Few 2, Kaido with the Uowo no Mi, Chach 1096, Big Mom with the Soru no Mi, Ashwar 859. How did he control all those massive egos? Simple, with a fruit that could shut off their powers if anyone rebelled. In chapter 1156, Oda mentions Rox was hunting 2 specific fruits for his final plan, and one had to neutralize enemy defenses. That's exactly what the Yami Yami does in chapter 577. At Marineford, Teach uses it to absorb Whitebeard's Gura after his death. And guess what? Rox was Teach's old captain, as revealed in chapter 957. Coincidence? Nope, it's inheritance. Rox either passed down the knowledge or even the fruit itself, hidden in God Valley's treasure. But wait, there's even more to this. In chapter 1096, during the God Valley incident, there was a tournament where devil fruits were given as prizes. The Uowo to Kaido, the Nikyu to Kuma. Why did Rox crash that event? To grab the best fruits. Fan theories, like those exploding on Reddit, but remember, I'm only using manga here, suggest the Yami Yami was there, hidden, since it's called the most evil fruit back in chapter 441. Rox, with that D in his name, same as Luffy and Roger, was obsessed with freedom, but twisted. Freedom to devour everything. The Yami Yami is literally the opposite of Nika, which we'll get to later. Darkness against light. In chapter 1155, when Rox indirectly clashes with Imu or the Gorosei, he would have needed something to cancel out their immortal or mythical powers. Just imagine Rox sucking the power from a celestial dragon with a divine fruit. And the foreshadowing is wild. In chapter 966, Odin's flashback, Whitebeard calls Rox a demon who ruled from the shadows. Shadows? Darkness. Blackbeard, his spiritual successor, never sleeps. Check 966. Maybe inheriting a curse tied to Rox's fruit. In chapter 1107, on Egghead, Saturn mentions fruits erased from history, and the Yami Yami is one of them. The only Logia that doesn't grant full intangibility. 1241. Rox hunted these rarities, and in chapter 1154, Oda confirms he had a devil fruit, likely a dark paramecia or Logia. Why not the Yami? It lets him absorb powers, explaining how he could have multiple just like Teach. Ha ha ha. What if Rox ate it? And another one making him the first real Cerberus in the series. Now, think about the impact. If Rox had the Yami Yami, it explains why Garp and Roger had to team up TH 1096. One alone wasn't enough against someone who could nullify fruits and haki with darkness. In chapter 1156, the 2 fruits Rox wanted are described as legendary, and the Yami fits perfectly, since it's the one that chooses its user, Kyo 577. Blackbeard got it because he was destined, maybe through Rox's lineage. Guys, this isn't a weak theory. Oda's been dropping hints since Wano. And if you're still not convinced, wait for part 2, where I dive into the Hito no Mi model Nika with twists that'll blow your mind. Keep watching. watching, like the video, and subscribe for more One Piece madness. If in part 1 I convinced you that the Yami Yami no Mi was Rox's weapon of darkness, now let's switch to light, or better, the fruit that embodies absolute freedom. The Hito Hito no Mi model Nika. But hold up, guys, this one's explosive, though Oda left doubts just to troll us. In the manga, chapter 1044, during Wano, Luffy awakens as Joy Boy, revealing his Gomu Gomu was actually the Nika, erased from history 800 years ago by the world government. Rox, the king of chaos, hunted exactly these forbidden fruits, as revealed in chapter 1156, where he needed 2 to destroy Maria Joie. And what if one of them was the Nika? Ha 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 ha! That would explain everything about the D and Rox's legacy for today's villains. Let's break this down with chapters, and I promise, even with doubts, this theory will blow your mind. First, why the Nika fits Rox's arsenal. In chapter 1154, Oda paints Rox as a crazed visionary, wanting to reinvent the world with absolute power. The Nika gives unlimited imagination, turning its user into a god of freedom. Chiyu 1045. Imagine Rox with that. He could stretch reality itself, creating rubber earthquakes or turning enemies into cartoons, just like Luffy does against Kaido. In chapter 1096, at God Valley, Rox attacked the Celestials, who wield divine powers. The Nika would be the perfect counter. The Sun God versus the false gods. Sengoku, in chapter 957, says Rox was unstoppable until Garp and Roger. Maybe because he had a mythical Zoan, making him elastic and nearly immortal in battle. And here's the Elbaf connection. In chapter 1130, Loki mentions a legendary fruit from Elbaf linked to the sun. And in chapter 1155, Rox wanted to recruit giants, maybe to secure that very fruit, which only works under the sun. Wait a second, the Nika is the sun god. But here's where the doubts come in. The stuff that actually makes this persuasive and fun. The narrator, me, asks, the Nika was erased from history centuries ago, chapter 1044, renamed the Gomu Gomu. So how would Rox even know about it? Well, he was obsessed with forbidden history, as seen in chapter 1156, where he uncovers secrets from the Void Century. Maybe he was searching for it under the name the Sun Fruit, similar to Loki's. In chapter 1069, Vegapunk explains that mythical fruits have a will of their own, and the Nika kept slipping away from the government for years. What if Rox actually found it, but didn't eat it because he already had the Yami planning to give it to an ally instead? In chapter 577, Teach absorbs fruits, maybe learning that trick straight from Rox. But here's the catch. If Rox had the Nika, why did he lose? Because the fruit needs to be awakened. Chapter 1044, and Rox was way too dark and twisted to ever be joyful like Joy Boy. Convincing? Just look at the chapters. In 1155, Rox versus Emu is hinted at, and Emu has some kind of demonic power. Chapter 1085, Nika versus Demon. It's classic. Blackbeard, Rox's protege, chapter 957, indirectly hunts the Nika, hating the light. Funny doubt here. What if the fruit only works in sunlight? It could have been a limitation, like how some Logias have weaknesses, but the Nika is always on. Maybe Rox wanted to combine it with the Yami for balance. In chapter 1106, Teach's bounty echoes 3 souls, but for Rox, it was 2 fruits, darkness and light. Guys, even with doubts, it ties the lore together beautifully. If the first 2 parts of this theory convinced you that Rox the XEBEC was a monster after the Yami Yami no Mi, and maybe even the Hito Hito no Mi, model Nika, now it's time for the 3rd piece of the puzzle that'll blow your mind. Loki's legendary fruit, the Cursed Prince of Elbaf, which only works under the sun. In the manga, this mysterious fruit is just starting to be revealed. And I'll bet my straw hat it was one of the 2 terrifying fruits Rox was hunting to complete his plan to destroy Marijoa and become king of the world. Let's break this down using manga chapters, juicy details, epic connections, and that fun spark that makes you want to reread all of One Piece. If by the end you're not yelling, Oda, you genius, I'll eat my own wanted poster. Ha ha ha! Let's march into Elbaf's blazing sun. First, let's set the context for Loki's fruit, which is the key to this whole theory. In chapter 1130, during the Elbaf arc, Oda introduces Loki, the giant prince who killed his own father, King Harold, to steal a legendary fruit revered by the giants as something sacred. This fruit is described as being tied to the sun, and Loki even calls himself the sun god in chapter 1131, a huge sign that this isn't just any random Akuma no Mi. Now, connect the dots with Rox. In chapter 1155, during flashbacks across Egghead and Wano, Oda reveals that Rox was obsessed with 2 specific fruits for his plan to dominate the world and destroy the celestial dragon's holy land. One of them, as I argued before, was the Yami Yami no Mi, perfect for nullifying powers and absorbing among others' abilities, chapter 441. But the second, it had to be equally legendary something to balance darkness with light, something that fits the chaos Rox wanted to unleash. And Loki's fruit, which only works under the sun, is the perfect candidate for the solar weapon Rox never fully got his hands on. Why is this fruit so terrifying? Straight from the manga, in chapter 1156, Oda gives more hints about Rox's plan. He wanted weapons that could change the rules of the game, able to rival the divine powers of the celestial dragons, like what we saw with Emu in chapter 1085, unleashing a dark, demonic power. Loki's fruit, being sun-linked, is probably a mythical Zoan, maybe something like a Hito no Mi model sun god, not Nika, which is more general, but a specific Elbaf variant. In chapter 1131, the giants of Elbaf talk about a legend where the sun guides warriors, and Loki's fruit is said to be activated by sunlight. Imagine Rox with that. During the day, under the blazing sun, he could become a giant god, his powers amplified, maybe even controlling fire, light, or solar energy to burn entire armies. Back in chapter 1096, at God Valley, Rox crashes a tournament where fruits like Kaido's Uo no Mi and Kuma's Nikyu no Mi were up for grabs. What if Loki's fruit was hidden there as the ultimate prize Rox wanted to steal? So, are you convinced? Rox was hunting Loki's fruit to literally become the sun god, complementing the Yami Yami and standing up to the gods of Marijoa. Chapters 1130, 1131, 1155, and 1096 show Oda has been building this plot since God Valley. If that's not proof, tell me in the comments what else is missing. Ha 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 ha. Sign on to the theory, share it with the crew, and I'll see you next time when we dig up more of Oda's secrets. Rox was the villain the world feared, and his solar fruit is now lighting the way to the endgame of One Piece. That was today's content. We hope you liked it and want to share your opinion on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay amazing.